Okay, here we go. Hello, hello, hello. Nice to see you. Have a cup of tea, a biscuit. Okay, let's talk about gay people in films. The Dixon experimental sound film, the most beloved of all experimental sound films. It was made in 1894 or 95 by William Dixon, and it's actually the first known film with live recorded sound, although it was not strictly speaking a sound film, as the sound and picture aren't synced up at all. That's Dixon there playing the violin. The music is Song of the Cabin Boy from this opera called Les Cloches de Corneville. You can see there that these two men are dancing together, and it seems pretty homo. Vito Russo was one of the most significant gay rights activists in the US during the 20th century, and he was the first to draw attention to the gay vibes with this early film. In his famous work, The Celluloid Closet, he referred to it as the Gay Brothers, although this is unsourced. It's true that there was a tradition of men dancing together in the 19th century in situations when there weren't enough women in like a hetero way, in soldier camps where it was mainly men, and this is called stag dancing, and it was recorded in the American magazine Harper's Weekly, which documented much of American life in and around the Civil War time. I think it's unlikely that Dixon couldn't have found a woman to participate in this film, but even if these men weren't gay themselves, the vibes are pretty gay, not gonna lie. Some important things to note about this film is that it might be the first film made for the kinetophone. So the kinetoscope was a device invented in the late 19th century, developed by French inventor Louis Le Prince, as well as Thomas Edison and William Dixon. The idea is that the viewer can look at the film in the kinetoscope by looking through a little peephole. According to scholarly journal Wikipedia, the kinetoscope did not project film, but it did introduce the concept of using the illusion of movement by conveying a strip of perforated film with sequential images over a light source with a high-speed shutter. This would become standard practice in film before video was invented. The kinetophone was a cylindrical proto-sound film system invented by Edison and Dixon, which accompanied the kinetoscope. It recorded live sound, but it did not sync it to the visual. At the Floral Ball was directed by Alice Guy Blaché, who is considered to be among the first people ever to direct a feature film, the first ever woman to direct a film, and perhaps even the only woman directing films for about 10 years until 1906. She is said to have directed over 1,000 films, including 22 feature-length films, but only 150 of her films survive today. In 1912, she also became the director of the first narrative film with an all-black cast. It's called A Fool and His Money, and would recommend. It's super fun. So At the Floral Ball is one of the earliest surviving films, if not the earliest, if you don't count the Dixon experimental sound film, to feature overt homosexuality on screen. There's a classic femme-butch dynamic going on. One woman is dressed in men's clothes. I've read their 18th century men's clothes, although I don't know enough about men's fashion to confirm or deny that. The butch woman kisses the femme woman's arm, and it's all beautifully hand-painted. Like, really, there's nothing in the world more beautiful than a hand-painted film. Name another legend. Go on, I'm waiting. So, Pierrette's Escapade, or Le Départ d'Alécan. Le Départ d'Alécan et de Pierrette. Le Départ d'Alécan. d'Arlequin. Le Départ d'Arlequin et de Pierrette was also directed by Alice Guy Blaché and possibly features the same two actresses from At the Floral Ball. It's another lovely hand-coloured film about two people courting. Cue the pas de deux, a lesbian mating ritual, and the curtains close on a kiss. So this is a 1904 film by Sigmund Lubin. Count Hardup makes an ad looking for a wife, asking for someone to meet him at the fountain. Instead of a wife, he gets a classic mob of women chasing after him. Boy, I can't tell you how many times I've been caught up in a mob like this myself. We women just can't help ourselves. Some of the mob is made up of what the film calls old maids, one of whom eventually catches Count Hardup and kisses him. Comedy. Good one, Sigmund! Okay, now, this is honestly a new favourite film of mine. I can't believe that in 1907, Georges Méliès predicted the aesthetics of boy TikTok. The Eclipse, courtship of the sun and moon, or L'Eclipse du Soleil en pleine lune, is apparently warning against, quote, looking too deeply into the workings of an unstable and inscrutable universe, end quote. To be honest, I'm getting more like sun and moon homo. Also, I absolutely love when they all pull out their telescopes. They look so funny together. But like, really, what is the moon at? How many times can one bite their lip? Also, Georges Méliès is like very important. He's like known as the father of film, and his special effects were like super incredible. I'm just finding it hard to concentrate with all this going on. Okay, he made La Voyage dans la Lune, you know, that thing from Hugo. But also, it's super beautiful too, especially if you can get your hands on the colour version. But yeah, this film is pretty epic. Top 10 LGBT plus moments in cinema history, if you ask me. So the last film we'll really be looking at is The Jester, made in 1908. There's not a lot of information about it out there, although people think it was probably directed by Walter or Booth. The basic ideas of The Jester, who, by the way, stunning, looking great, but she can make things appear and disappear with puffs of her cigarette. So she conjures up some clowns, some boy clowns, some girl clowns. The boy clowns fight, she conjures up some other stuff, and then runs away with her two girlfriends. Stunning. Also, fun fact. Ugh, I say the words fun fact unironically probably every single day, please bear with me. But you can notice that the film is tinted blue. A lot of times different shades like that were used in silent films to indicate like maybe the time of day or kind of the vibe of the film. So blue is often used for nighttime. So we can maybe assume that this film was supposed to be taking place at night. Or here in Physique Diabolique, a lot of French films in this. It's red because it's about the devil getting up to some mischief. The last film that fits into the category that I just made up of gays on screen from 1894 to 1910 is Tempus suis la femme, which was made in 1910. You can easily find the footage online, but I decided to leave it out because it's just like offensive and I found it to be pretty distasteful. Although I will say the person playing La Femme can really do a high kick, and as someone who's gotten 42 days into a 30 days to the splits program with shockingly little to show for it, I am impressed by any level of flexibility. So that's that. I love this area of film. I think it's so innovative. It makes my eyes melt into little hearts. I especially like finding these little gay gems. I just find that seeing representations of gay people from so long ago gives me a weirdly satisfying sense of identity and of roots and history when we're usually erased. So anyway, smash that like button and subscribe, besties. Bye. Bye 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 bye.